I bet you incubate reptile eggs, and I bet you've lost some. Today we're going to talk about, I feel, the best incubation material out there. We're going to talk about others. We're going to talk about the best one. Let me get the supplies and join me. Okay, I think I'm all set here. And nope, I'm missing one thing. I'll be right back. I've got to have my morning coffee. I didn't realize I had so many different supplies here. We're going to talk about these. We're going to talk about good ways to incubate. We're going to talk about bad ways to incubate. And I do have a bunch of notes here. We'll cover these at the end just to make sure I covered everything. I'm going to go full ad hoc here and talk about incubation material. Now, the very first one that we can talk about is sphagnum moss or something like dirt, something natural. Now, sphagnum moss won't mold, but dirt will. Mold is a big problem with eggs. If eggs have too much humidity, they will mold. So I would strongly suggest staying away from dirt. Try not to use sphagnum moss. It's not terrible, but it's not the best medium that you can use. Another good material that you can use is coir fiber. This won't necessarily mold, but if you set up the incubation material too moist, the eggs will mold. We're going to talk about perlite and vermiculite. Now, I've got some vermiculite right here. It's a good product. It's what I use to start off with. If you measure out the moisture, the water to the material the right way, it's not too bad, but it takes a certain feel. You have to do it over and over again until you get that certain feel for how much water to add to the vermiculite or the perlite. The reason I stopped using this is that it dries out so quickly and it's hard to keep it moist. It's hard to know when it needs moisture. And another factor is that I started losing baby crested geckos when using perlite and vermiculite. So I stopped using both of those products entirely. So at this point you're saying, Wally, what's the big deal? If I lose a baby once in a while, it's not the end of the world. Well, what if that one baby was an albino or a certain morph or trait that you've been waiting years for? Now it's a big deal. What if it's your very first baby? What if it's a special baby that maybe it's a rare animal that maybe you won't be able to breed again? Then it all becomes a pretty big deal. In my opinion, the number one reason people are losing their babies when they're incubating the reptile eggs is because of too much moisture. It's not that the medium is too dry, it's that it gets too wet. How does it get too wet? Well, you set it up incorrectly from the beginning, or as it dries out, you add too much water and you drown those eggs. The eggs absorb the moisture in the medium and the little babies can possibly drown. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So we need a medium that will, number one, hold moisture very, very well, and number two, will show us when it's lacking moisture. And we have the perfect medium right here. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying if you have a method that works for you right now, and there's many, many different methods, if it's working for you, don't change. Don't change. If you're just starting off, or if you're having problems incubating your eggs, you're incubating eggs and they're just not hatching out or they're molding up, then consider this method. We're going to be using a product called Supreme Hatch Material. It's a high-fired clay material that's very porous, that holds a lot of moisture. The reason that's important is that it will dry out a lot less quickly. Supreme Hatch Material, I have a batch right here that we're going to be using. Here's how you set it up. This is so easy, folks. It's so easy. Take a bowl, add some Supreme Hatch material. It's a little dusty, and it could be any type of container. Then add your water. How much water? Doesn't matter. I didn't spill. How about that? Now what we're going to do is just kind of tap down so that all of the little rocks go down into the material, taking out some of the floating material here. We're going to kind of stir it around just a little bit, get some of the air bubbles out of it, and we're going to let it sit for probably a minute or two. Now, I added the water over the material so that all of the little rocks get moist. While we're waiting that minute or two, let me mention one more method that really has not worked for us. It's called the SIM method. You can find these little containers online. You fill the container about halfway up with water, put the little compartment in, and then lay the eggs on top. The whole idea is, and then put the top back on, of course. The theory with the SIM incubator is that that whole compartment stays humid and the eggs absorb the humidity and never touch moisture. Some people swear by this method. It's just never really worked that well for me from a consistency standpoint. I'm going to go pour off the excess water, and all I'm going to do is get all the water I can possibly get off of this material as I can. I'll be right back. There we go. All the water is off, or at least most of it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see how dark this material is. That's the after. Should we do this in the reverse order? This is the before. So it's real light when it's dry and real dark when it's moist. I can take this material now and I can take a hide box or a small hide box I had to grab one out of our warehouse behind us. That's what we ship our product out from. And I can take one of these small hide boxes and I'll take a spoon, make sure I don't get the dry material. Don't tell Nanette I stole another one of her spoons. And I can simply add some of the moist material right to the hide box. I can do the same with one of these tackle or bead boxes as well, and add to every single compartment and set the eggs up in every one of those compartments so that they're all separated from each other. Now here's the most important part of this whole video. If you're incubating your eggs and you find that the material is drying out, just take your diffuser bottle and you can add water. Hopefully you can see that right to the corner and not touching the eggs, and just get that corner wet. The corner then will get all the rest of the material moist, and you don't have to worry about getting this container too wet. Add a little bit of water right now, come back in an hour, make sure that the whole material is damp, and if it's not, then you can hit one more little corner like that. Then you're done. Like I said before, with a material like vermiculite or perlite or koi fiber, one of the other brands, you really don't know when that material is getting too dry and when you have to add more moisture. And if you add too much moisture, you'll never be able to tell. We started using Supreme Hatch material, oh my gosh, probably about 15 years ago. It's been working so well that we started selling it, and it's just such a huge boom to how we're incubating our eggs. I had a lot of notes here, so let's make sure that I covered all of the information. Okay, how to set up, done. Supreme Hatch material, reusable. I didn't mention it. I'm glad I took some notes. Here's how it's reusable. If you're done incubating your eggs, the babies hatch out, you put the babies away, you take the eggs, you throw them away, you take the material, put it into another container. Then what you could do is, and we use hot water with this, wash out that material and let it dry out for your next incubation. You can reuse this over and over and over. I think I've used some of this for about 100 years. Well, maybe not 100 years. What else did we miss? Easy to moist. We already covered that. It's really hard to tell when the moisture content is too much or too little. We covered that. What if you lose your eggs? How important are those eggs to you? We've covered that. Oh, and all products that we've used here, like the diffuser bottle, the Supreme Hatch material, the hatch boxes, are all in a link in the description to our store. I really hope that this helped you a lot. If you have any incubation questions, make sure that you contact me Wally Kern on Facebook, Supreme Gecko on Facebook. Put a comment down below. Let me know. I want to help you be successful in incubating your eggs. Make sure you watch this video right now because it's going to have some really cool information. We'll see you next video. Bye-bye.